Lego, by far one of the most historically rich companies, with so many little fun facts and niches that I can guarantee that you didn't know. In this week's video, I'm going to share some of my endless wisdom and tell you some of the most obscure Lego facts ever. These will be some extremely cutthroat facts that have never been talked about. So without further ado, let's get on into it. So back in the early 1940s, the son of the owner of Lego, Gottfried Kirk Christensen, once said that it's been a great day and we've earned a little bit more money because we saved money when we were making the ducks by not applying the third layer of varnish and only gave it two. This would usually cut their costs, but Ole was extremely mad about this and told him to go grab all the ducks again and add the varnish himself, and he will get no help from this. This is because they always had a very big emphasis on how their products are always the best, which is why their motto is only the best is good enough. Have you heard of Lego Galador? Most people haven't. In the early 2000s, like 2001-ish, like before Bionicle, Lego Galador, which was supposed to be like action figures, was created, and Lego put in a bunch of money, like a ton of money into this theme, making a billion new molds and making extremely high quality sets, and then it didn't really work out well. This is because the show was so insanely bad that I literally cannot watch that show. I can't willingly watch it. And also, because nobody wants that, because they could prefer just to buy straight up action figures, and it really strayed away from the Lego system. And as a result, they lost a bunch of money and almost went into bankruptcy. There are a bunch of interesting types of like Lego bricks, such as the marbled bricks, which are usually created by Lego employees who are mixing different types of ABS plastic together, and they made a bunch of different like marble bricks with different colors inside of them, which is super interesting. And there's a lot of them out there, and you can buy them for anywhere between $50 to several $100s. So I don't know if you noticed, but basically at the time that Lego Monkey Kid was created, right, there was a formula. It was called the 3-year formula, and basically they had it so, well, the entire theme was in 3 years. As a result, Lego Monkey Kid was planned out to be 3 years, which is why there's a bit of concept art about there, which was what about Lego Monkey Kid could have been. It was basically how Macaque was going to be the main villain, and how he was going to make, and how the show's going to be much more dark and gritty. However, after they saw the gigantic success Lego Monkey Kid had in the Asian regions, they decided not to do that and actually went for a 5-year season and hopefully 6 years. And as a result, we never got to see the different side and saw the Lady Bone Demon, which is why the late on the season 3 was a bit more lackluster, in my opinion. Back in 1999-ish, when the designers were working on the first ever Lego Star Wars sets, they had to design the Lego Star Wars lightsabers, right? And so they designed it, but then they met up with George Lucas, and at the time we only had the Phantom Menace out, and the lightsabers they made, they only was one-sided, so you can only put it from the top. But George Lucas said for them to make it double-sided. And the designers asked why, and he just said, just make it. And now we can see that in the second movie, General Grievous had double-sided Star Wars hilts, which is super useful because we already had double-sided Star Wars hilts, which is really nice. Lego Forma is arguably one of the most obscure Lego themes ever. It is a paper-based toy. It's really interesting because basically, I don't know a story about it too well myself. It's honestly really obscure. But basically, everything is made of paper. And you basically are making like, one of the sets is like a koi fish, where you have your Lego interior holding out the structure. And then you have like your official Lego paper hole punchers. And everything that can make the Lego fish that is out of paper. It's honestly really interesting because Lego doesn't really do this kind of stuff, and it's way more different. It doesn't fit into the Lego system where everything can connect up to each other. Back in like the 2010s and stuff, Lego, with the rising of the popularity of the AFOLs, or the adult fans of Legos, they actually didn't like the AFOLs. They believe that they were veering away from the target market, and it was just not a good thing until they finally realized to start embracing this gigantic market and being able to capitalize on it as much as possible. Which is why we have so many expensive sets right now, because they can just make a crap ton of money out of just AFOLs. I bet you know what Lego jumper plates are, right? The 1x2 tiles with the one singular stud in the middle, right? Well, the creation of it was an entire accident. They were on. This was a time when they were trying to create more pieces, and they thought about like a mixture of tiles and plates, right? And they wanted to create something that could either work as a tile, right? And this was before tiles were created, so they tried having one stud and being able to like make a little much more complex techniques, and they accidentally made the jumper plates as well. Back in the early 2015s, LEGO launched their first ever Lunar New Year sets, but it was all only available in China and other Asian regions. In the backlash from this, because there were so many Asian people and people like that, and LEGO collectors that really liked the sets and that wanted to buy them, but they were unfortunately landlocked, so they couldn't buy them. As a result, there was so much backlash that LEGO was forced to start releasing their products to everywhere, which is why LEGO Monkey Kid is available everywhere, because it probably wouldn't have been if it wasn't. And now they're no longer allowed to do any more regional exclusives. Every year, LEGO hosts an extremely prestigious tour every single year called the Insider Tour. Basically, it goes through everything about LEGO. It goes through the LEGO house and the LEGO vault, where they store all of their LEGO sets and much, much more. And where only a handful of diehard LEGO fans can be chosen. And every year they can all go there, have this one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and at the end, they get some exclusive LEGO sets made specifically for that occasion. Like the 2014 one was a Bionicle mask. I believe this year was the Ferguson tractor, which was very interesting. And a couple years back was another like car. There's some great ones out there just because of it. LEGO designers love to include little Easter eggs to different things. One of the most popular ones being the frogs. Designers love to incorporate frogs into a billion different LEGO sets. Like the bonsai tree has a bunch, and a bunch of different LEGO sets have the LEGO frogs, and it's basically just left as like a sort of LEGO meme for the people, just because how much they're included inside of it. Did you know that during the creation of Technic, there were some Technic minifigures? They did not look good at all, though, and they were absolutely huge. They made a little bit of them, but they didn't do that well, so they scrapped it entirely. And quite frankly, it looks disgusting, and it does not match the scale of a normal minifigure at all. And like if you grab one of the $200 like Ford cars or something like that, it may be able to fit in, but that's still stretching it. Which at the time there was no $200 cars, so really they were just like action figures in a sense. Do you know the gas station Shell? Well, back in like the 2010s, LEGO partnered up with Shell and released a bunch of different Shell exclusive LEGO sets, where they act like a GWP, where if you fill up your gas there, you can get those LEGO sets for free. Which is honestly really interesting because it's such a random partnership ever, and like it's not something you would expect to happen. For some reason, there are Pepsi LEGO sets. Why there are Pepsi and soda LEGO sets makes no sense. And, I mean, there are some other sets that make sense, like the soccer and sports sets. Not like the ones that we've recently gone, like the older ones where you can actually play with it. Like the basketball set, which is actually really interesting. And if you haven't seen it, it's super cool because you can actually play with that set. But why do we have soda sets? Like Coca-Cola and Pepsi do not need LEGO polybags. And the minifigures that go with that are now worth like $80 or $90. When creating one of the first ever LEGO sets with instructions, one of the main things was how they were going to include hands into the instructions, because a lot of different cultures have hands depicted in different ways. So one way someone can build the Legos in one country could be drastically different than a way that people can build in another country, which is why they decided to opt out from putting hands entirely and putting in arrows instead, which honestly works a whole lot better. During the start of the Lego toys, the automatic binding bricks, they actually used a different type of plastic called cellulose acetate. It wasn't plastic; it was much more wood-based, and and eventually decided to switch due to an influx of high quality and ABS and being able to be much more precise. When people think of the first ever Lego movies, they usually think of the Lego Movie or Lego Movie 2 or Ninjago or Batman, but rarely do people think of the two before ones, which would be The Adventures of Clutch Power, which is a pretty bad Lego movie for all things considered, and Bionicle. They both had their movies, and while the Clutch Powers one was not officially put into places like AMC and Regal, you could have still watched it and got a DVD to watch it with. I even have a copy of it myself. The first ever Lego show is not actually Lego Ninjago or Lego Bionicle or whatever you're thinking of. It's actually Edward and Friends. It was created for the very old Lego theme, Lego Fabulent, which is honestly a very interesting Lego theme. And the show, while it's alright, I'm definitely not the target audience, and it was made for very little kids. It's still interesting, and it's a very important part of Lego history. So if you've learned something in this video, please make sure to subscribe. It really only takes a second, and it means the moon to me. Also, if you want even more cool Lego facts, if we hit 8 likes, then I will make another one, which is a really big target, so make sure to hit the like button too. That is all, so let's go back into the video. Did you know that Lego.com has their own part where you can literally go onto it and learn all about their history? That's right, if you search up in your browser lego.com/history, you can get to a gigantic website where you can learn a bunch of different Lego things about the story and much more, which is very interesting, and you can figure out a bunch of deep cut stuff that a lot of people don't know without having to watch me yap for like 20 minutes. Every year, Lego has their panel at Comic-Con, right? And oftenly, they release a limited amount of exclusive minifigures, often referred to as Comic-Con exclusive set minifigures, and they go for a lot on the aftermarket, like the most expensive one being the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, going for $14,000, which is absolutely insane. Have you heard of Lego Nexo Nights? It was originally supposed to be one of the biggest Lego themes ever, right? With their app, and it did immaculate in season 1, selling super well, and the kids were absolutely loving it. And I really liked the sets, and the show was alright. But then it started literally plummeting in sales, and it has one singular reason. The villain, Jestero, sucks. He's extremely boring, and the show became extremely repetitive, and at some point, it just felt like the same thing constantly happening, and as a result, Lego decided to scrap it. The most expensive Lego Star Wars set ever is the Attack of Cloud City. This set released for literally one singular day and can go for anywhere between $2,000 to up to $10,000, which is absolutely insane. And quite frankly, it looks good, and like one of the most popular and iconic Star Wars minifigures is Cloud City Boba Fett as a result. One of the things that Lego was doing was the 3-year formula, where basically every theme would last 3 years, such as Chima lasted 3 years, Lego Nexo Nights lasted 3 years, Monkey was supposed to last 3 years, and a bunch of different, and Lego Elves lasted 3 years. A bunch of different shows just lasting 3 years as a result, and it was basically just to be able to capitalize on the early hype, and which is why a bunch of different themes were doing it, and see if it works, and if it works, then we'll do more, such as Lego Ninjago that did so well, we're still getting more sets. One of the most interesting thing about Lego minifigures is how they decided to choose the yellow of all colors. The reason they chose it is because they didn't want to choose a single skin color to represent any single race. As a result, they wanted every kid to be represented in these sets. And so they made it all yellow so everyone can see themselves in it without having to be like a certain race or anything like that. Well, that is all for this week's video. Once again, hit the subscribe button if you've made it this far, and if you want another one of these, let's hit 8 likes. That is all from me. Goodbye.